you have another unique differentiator. So you have a unique area of law. So I like talking about these kind of, I haven't had anybody on the show where you have a vaccine injury cases, and that's super unique. So, what is the National Vaccine Injury Compensation Program, and what is this area of law? Tell me about it.
Well, now it's something we probably say the word vaccine more than we ever did because of COVID, right? And for good or for bad, we purchased another law firm right in the very beginning of COVID, and that law firm had a very large practice area that was the Vaccine Injury Compensation Program. The Vaccine Injury Compensation Program deals with vaccines that are administered mostly because of and for kids. So like a flu vaccine is for children, and it's something that adults can also get the same vaccine. So if these vaccines are for kids and they're in the program, then there's this big fund that's billions of dollars that pays the victims. And if we win, when we win, it pays attorney's fees. So it's the best case scenario because we know that we're going to get a happy client because you can look at the case and understand what the schedule is. They're going to get all the money themselves, and then after the fact, usually months or months later, we're going to get all of our attorney's fees because we petition the special masters in the U.S. Court of Federal Claims to get our fees paid separately. So it's not a contingency fee. The attorney's not getting, or sorry, the client's not getting $10,000 less a third for attorney's fees. The client's getting the whole 10 grand, and then thereafter we're getting our attorney's fees later on. It's kind of like a workers' comp kind of feel, where there's a schedule. If you have a vaccine on X date and you have treatment, pain, problems, a doctor's visit within a certain number of days thereafter, and treatment, pain, and problems for 6 months or so thereafter, then you fall within the schedule and you're on the table, it's called, and you're able to get compensation for your medical expenses, your pain and suffering and such. So it's unique because it's, I call it international practice. We have clients who were all over the world. They may have gotten a vaccine on a military base, or they may have gotten a vaccine at a protectorate or somewhere else, or certainly in the Alaska, Hawaii, the 50 here. But other than that, it's a really unique practice because there's one court, the U.S. Court of Federal Claims, that looks over all these cases, and they're in charge of administering with their special masters and their attorneys the handling of tens of thousands of vaccine cases. And there aren't many lawyers that do it. There's maybe, I don't know if it's 1,000, but they're looking at Morgan & Morgan, and they have just 1,000 lawyers for their firm. For all the vaccine lawyers in the nation, maybe there's 1,000 or so who are actively handling vaccine cases.
Incredible. I've got to ask the marketing, the touchy side of the questions, right? So, I never try to get like political on the show. With RFK speaking about vaccines and COVID and all this kind of dichotomy of thoughts, pros and cons, and sure, you had that. I think from my hometown, so I went to SIU School of Law, and literally there's like two celebrities. There is the guy from, let's see here, Better Call Saul, and I can't think of his name, and there's Jenny McCarthy. Jenny McCarthy was the one that was always in the news for vaccines.
Yep.
So how is this additional like current events like played into the volume and like visibility for this area of law?
Boy, it was overwhelming initially because I didn't know what I got into, because who thought COVID was going to happen, and then everybody, probably every other call to our firm was some media person asking us to give an opinion on COVID. It's like, well, okay, we have on our website, it says we do vaccine injuries. This is different. COVID's not on the table. It still isn't on the table. We're just listening to some testimony last week about putting COVID into the program, but it's still not on the program. But that was, boy, calls every single day, email submissions every single day from people who were getting fired because they didn't want to get a vaccine, or they had some religious opposition to it, or whatever else it was, and they had some concerns, so they called us to help. And it was really tough because I spent hours upon hours of days and weeks with people trying to answer their questions, and I didn't know what the answer was. I knew there were lawyers who maybe would look at these cases and handle them, but a lot of the times it was an employment lawyer that they needed as opposed to a vaccine injury lawyer. So, getting into this, it was overwhelming because there was so much information that really no one knew the answers to, and it was just really triaging and trying to figure out, well, how do we get maintain their information, so if there is a case in the future, we can know that we can contact them and tell them, and get them to somebody who can hopefully help them because they're really stressed out at this point. So yeah, it was a crazy time to buy a practice that dealt with vaccines, because that word vaccine was a lightning bolt, right?
Yeah, there's so much. There's like this interconnection between the vaccine, the wrongful termination, the employment stuff, also the interconnection between the employee forgiveness. I can't think of the exact name of it, for the taxes and kind of all
PPP
these
stuff.
and PPP stuff.